Hello,
Hey,
Maureen.
Maureen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Now, I told Maureen, because she said she was a little hesitant talking to Americans, so I said, well, we'll get Ethan to kind of assuage things over to put more weight into the Australian sway. So,
I can be the
Well,
so
mediator.
I've spoken to more Americans in the last month than I reckon in the last 40 years.
okay, maybe that's what she said. I can't talk to another bloody American again if I.
I know.
Now, where are you calling out of, Maureen?
I'm from sunny but cold Melbourne.
Oh, that sounds freezing right
Mm.
now. Yeah, I'm in Gold Coast right now, but it is. I've got the heater on.
Okay. Yeah. I'm heading up to the Gold Coast 3 times in the next month. So, yeah, I hope you bloody turn that sun up.
You don't come up this weekend. I think it gets warmer again after that.
Nice.
I kind of forgot it was winter over there. I guess it's so hot here right now that
Yeah.
I just
Now,
misplaced
Jason,
it.
where are
But
you?
Austin, Texas.
Texas.
So
Wow.
we're
Cool.
we're we're just starting one of our two seasons. We have hot, and then we have winter.
Yeah.
So we're just starting hot, which is a nice time to leave. So I'm kind of preparing to get out of here before I cook. So yeah, it's
I think
similar. It's similar to there, but maybe a little more heat.
I think
Yeah.
Melbourne's more
And
like
how did you
Oregon,
two
Joe.
meet? How did you two meet?
Ethan was homeless traveling through the U.S. and I no, actually we both met in Adelaide. Believe
Yeah,
it or
we were
not,
both
so
homeless.
we lived
Ah,
we
that
we were
explains.
actually home. We met in Adelaide and then made our way to where did we go together? Catherine, Cooper Pete.
Yeah.
Were we in Cooper Pete together?
No, we didn't stay in Cuba together.
No,
No.
that's a different ex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cat. Oh,
Joe gets
what's the
around.
Aboriginal cat? No, it's Catherine, right? Catherine.
Yeah, we spent a bit of time in Catherine.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
that's
to
right.
Catherine. I travelled around Australia in a Holden HZ station wagon when I was 22,
Oh,
Nice.
and the friend I went with fell in love at a
the shaggin' wagon.
a Catherine Bachelors and Spinsters ball. She fell in love in Catherine and stopped the trip.
Is she still in
Did she
Catherine?
stay?
Is she stuck?
I think we met her. I think we.
Yeah, she's got 3 kids.
Ethan, that's your mom.
Yeah.
No,
Could be one of my
no.
exes
We
though.
we had a great time. That's actually very possible. We've shut down the bar once in Catherine. You
Really?
remember?
Yeah.
We did karaoke. They had like a karaoke and a drinking set. There's one bar in Catherine,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's the only bar.
well, it's a bar, and then on one side is karaoke, and then one side is like lawn bowling, and then the other side is
Yeah.
like
It's
cards. There's only four people.
it's the
But
gas station.
welcome to the conversation where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping our world, including the population's decline and all the reasons for it. Our guest today, Maureen Pound, a fearless entrepreneur, real estate investor, and mentor empowering men to conquer dating, sex, and wealth. Her book, How to Get Laid on Tinder, offers no nonsense strategies for men to navigate modern romance, while her viral TikTok videos, racking up millions of views, deliver raw truths on women's bedroom missteps and her rise to millions through savvy investments. Unafraid to voice what others dodge, Maureen's bold insights spark conversations that cut through the chaos of today's social and economic landscape. Maureen, we are super excited to have you today.
I'm excited to be here.
We kind of wanted to kick off getting a sense of you. You're from Melbourne. You were born in Melbourne?
Yes.
And can you give us a little flavor? Your parents, your siblings, kind of socioeconomic.
Yeah, sure. So I'm youngest of 9 children.
Oh, another big
Oh.
one.
They did have a talent. Yeah, Catholic family, probably working class. And I had a happy childhood. My brother did once shoot me with a slug gun with a match in it. Just the usual trials and tribulations of many siblings. And I was the youngest by far. So I've got a couple of sisters who are,
You're the surprise.
17, 16. My mother actually was really pissed off. She was pregnant with my brother. He was number 8. Really pissed off. And by the time she got pregnant with me, she's like, oh, what the heck? Like, what's another one? So I was fascinated by people and relationships and communication. And I used to just soak everything up as a child. And that continued to this day.
Nice. Now, what's the gap between you and your second sibling, number 8?
He's 3 years. And number 7 is
3 years.
another 4 years above that. And then another 3 years. It was very, very top heavy.
Oh, wow.
Did your parents
Gotcha.
know where the kids were coming from? Like, did someone
Later,
buy them a book?
my mum was cleaning out her room, and I used to,
Her
have these
dad's
chats,
like, what? How does this keep happening?
and she had the Billings Rhythm Method book up in her cupboard. And I said, Mum, what the hell is that? And she goes, oh, yes, it's this, it's a Billings Rhythm Method. If you follow this, you're not supposed to, get pregnant. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, did you get that wrong? And Mum and Dad just go, oh, well, she's got no rhythm.
It's like the first 3 pages are worn and torn, and then none of it's after
Yeah.
that is done. So, yeah.
And he also
Probably have
used
to
to
follow the
say,
whole
instead of people that she was a sex maniac, to her utmost embarrassment.
Most of your siblings still in Melbourne? Or?
Yes, yeah. One's on the Gold Coast, up with Eden. She's her claim to fame is she's run more Gold Coast half marathons, which is a famous race here in Australia, than any other person, male or female. So she's, I think, nearly 75. So she's keeping on trucking. Yes, and so
Wow.
some of them went to bush and lived in the country, but most of them are within a 3K radius of where we grew up in Essendon.
Nice. So it sounds like you stay pretty close.
Yeah, we did.
You grew up there. It sounds like you were maybe not an only child, but one of 2 with lots of older aunts and uncles / siblings kind of around. You went to high school. You went to uni.
Yeah, so I went to the Catholic girls' school, and
Of course.
I was an A student for a lot of years, and then I bombed in when it mattered. So I think
Was that because
had
of
a bit
boys?
well, a little bit. I think
Guilty
back
pleasures.
in those days too, like weren't the support systems around. You just got on with it. And my parents had no idea what I was studying. And they were supportive, but they didn't understand. They just, I had good report cards. Well done, love. That's about it. So, I took
Is that
myself.
just because there's so many kids they're trying to keep track of them all? Or?
No, I just think back then, Generation X is very much, just get on with it. It was sort of distant parenting. You come home when the street light come on. That's your curfew. And you just choose your own subjects, work out your own university stuff, get a part-time job to pay for shit. Like it was very loving, but you didn't have these deep and meaningful conversations with your parents about your future.
What did interest you?
Yeah. So I always loved, as I said, just people and communication. I remember I lost the plot in year 11 or 12 when I had a part-time job, and I abused the manager and I said, you're a fucking bitch. Like I just lost the plot. And I learned, and so she called me up to office to sack me. And by the end of the conversation, I'd gotten a promotion. So I learned, I was fascinated with owning your shit.
Manipulation?
With
The art of the deal.
The art of the deal. Like actually,
No.
a bit of vulnerability, how that goes a long way, mixed with confidence, mixed with giving the person what they want and need.
Yeah, genuine
so-
integrity.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
And then I went to university and studied, French and literature and philosophy, which I loved.
Mm.
And then went transferred after the first year to a prestigious university and continued my journey. So that was the starting point.
Nice. And did you study philosophy in school or?
Yeah, so in university I studied philosophy. Philosophy
Maureen.
of emotions, philosophy of religion, all sorts of philosophy.
Oh, wow.
Are you a fan of Groundhog Day, the movie?
It drives me crazy.
It drives you crazy because there's the main actress in that she majors in French literature or something, and
Okay.
Bill Murray responds, "What a waste of time," and then
Yeah.
he has to. The next time he does it, he's like, "For somebody else, that would be an incredible waste of time."
Yeah. He learns from his mistake.
What sparked you in philosophy? You studied, now in Australia, they do it slightly different than the US. So you go to 2 years of, is it college, right? It's kind of your trade. And then you go to, no, everybody's shaking their heads.
So
Oh,
we
that's not,
transferred across to more of American system now. But back in the late 80s,
that's
what
too bad.
we do is you would do an undergraduate degree. So you would do, science or arts, etc., commerce. And so it's usually 3 years. Yeah. Now
Gotcha.
it's more like the US where you do this undergraduate. You don't go into medicine straight away. You do something before you get into medicine.
Gotcha. So you do kind of general and then you go into whatever you're going to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's underrated. The arts are really underrated. So philosophy, literature, you learn how to use your brain.
That anymore. We've got AI, right? People don't want to use
In
their
the
brains.
US, we don't need it. We don't use that
They've
here.
got the TV tells them what to do. So
Yeah. I'm a big fan, use it every day, and then I use my brain with the AI. Bingo.
Yep.
I don't see the purpose of that. That just makes you have to work more with your brain. See, what kind of a tool is that?
Joe's tired of fighting with the AI. He's always arguing.
What did you do after uni? You focused in philosophy. I'm sure you had a million jobs lined up to hire you with a philosophy degree.
So I got a job in a pub for 4 months. So I could.
Right. Hey, that's actually makes sense for philosophy degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
That's
could
nothing like a
drive around
bartender.
Australia
Like
in
Putting the
whole
degree into
cake
practice.
wagon.
It's 9 a.m. and you're like, why am I here? And you're like, I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah.
Let me tell you over another
So
drink.
all I wanted was money enough to buy a car so that I could then take this trip. And then I got back for
This was the one to Catherine that you did,
around
right?
Australia.
Yep.
And my girlfriend couldn't drive, so I drove a long way. And that was a real adventure. And then I came back and I then headed off overseas for 2.5 years and lived in the UK and did the Aussie nanny, traveling, all that sort of jazz.
Now that makes no sense for a philosophy degree. You don't raise kids with some kind of reason and logic.
Yeah. Yep.
So you were in England for 2 years. Obviously, you returned to Australia, I take it? And what brought you back?
Yeah. The visa ran out.
They kicked you out. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I sort of did, I worked in optics for a year. I did I did work in optics, and my drama teacher from school and her partner, amazing couple, they both walked in. One was the dance teacher and one was the producer. And I was working in optics and they walked in and they saw me in that shop and they went, what a waste. Because I thought had a bit of talent, and here I was in this, would you like some glasses? So then I went and studied teaching. So I became a secondary teacher. I just had to do 1 year. Yeah.
Nice.
Now, what I learned in that, I then went bush to teach, right? And I
just so we're clear, bush means out in the outback.
Out in the a country town, but on the ocean. And what I learned was that the current education system is not suited for boys, especially. Like, I don't think it's suited for anyone.
Exactly. Someone who understands
fault,
us.
Mum.
Yeah.
Not my fault.
Exactly.
So I was teaching history and English, etc. And so for history, you've got 14-year-old boys. They're not going to sit there for an hour and listen to your history teachings about medieval England. But you give them a project to make anything they want from medieval England, and they are in. They are in. We had arrow shooters. We have every weapon. We had
By
skulls.
anything you want, you mean a weapon or something you can smoke with, right? Those are
Yeah. And they went to the woodwork teacher and they collaborated and they got permission from the principal to leave all their stuff in her office, and she thought it was amazing. And I thought it was amazing until one of them, Jason, came with his arrow shooter that actually worked and went straight through the recycling bin, both sides, and into the wall when he shot it. So
Nice.
my point about that was that,
Oh, you made your point. It went right into the garbage can.
and they learned to collaborate and they used their hands and then they presented perfectly, and when they were doing and they saw a purpose and they were interested, it was a whole different ball game. And so I feel really strongly about the sexes using their strengths to succeed in life.
So I mean, so really there are differences between men and women. I mean, basically you're saying that you notice that these younger boys have a way to participate, but really you have to maybe teach them and give them a channel to let out their natural masculinity. Is that
and masculinity.
exuberance? I like it. Exuberance.
Yeah. And the other story I have is after I taught, I ran a program in the area I was the youngest in the state doing it, for kids at risk of leaving school early. And they were all boys and they were from all around the district. And we used to run programs and part of it was taking them out rock climbing and abseiling. And I'd had some of those
Instead of
boys in the
school.
classroom and they were really troublesome in the classroom. You take them out there, those boys had my back when I was abseiling. I trusted them with my life wholeheartedly. They'd even call me out if I wasn't focusing enough. And so I'm like, oh my God, you are amazing human beings and people are missing it. So, currently everyone's worried because 60% of people at university are women versus men. But
Right.
I feel like universities tailored more towards women, just like school.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, we
men-
do have an increasing number of women going to school and getting educated versus men. It used to be more men, but now it's more women.
Yeah.
But you're always saying just letting men maybe do hands-on, be out more physical might be more conducive to their natural abilities.
Yeah.
This is the male version of stay in the kitchen, but it's get back into the workshop, get back into the factories.
Well, get back into what does it for you.
Mind the deck. There's all these
Yeah.
sailing analogies that can be here. Right? Mind the deck, damn it. She'll sweep the floor, you mind the deck. Is that?
Yeah.
Now, I know where your story goes, so I want to connect them a little bit, only if you're okay with talking about it. But
Yeah.
you eventually decide to have 2 children on your own. You went to uni, you were going to school, you were doing things. You did ultimately become quite successful in your own right, both real estate investments. You did mentorship. Now you've started another couple of companies. And walk us through that journey and where you ultimately decided to you have 2 children, right?
Yeah.
If I were to guess, they're kind of teens now?
Yeah, they're teenagers, yeah.
Yeah. And so walk us through what your decision was to not only is it not traditional, but you literally did in vitro, right?
Yeah, I did. So the journey was just like a lot of people's journeys. I did lots of stuff, right? So I did the teaching, I did the consulting, I became a professional writer. I did all this stuff, and then I had the coaching business for about 15 years. And when I got to my mid-30s, I went, I really want children. I love family. I want that. And I want a partner. So I went on this journey back in the old days, it was RSVP and, the old sites, to look for a bloke to marry. And I couldn't find one. No one wanted to marry me. And so I went to South America and did the Inca Trail, 2 months with no technology, not a computer, not a phone, just nothing. And got hypothermia, nearly died. It was very dramatic. Came back And this was to just decide whether I was going to do it on my own, have kids on my own, or I was going to still wait. Came back after the 2 months. I decided I'm going to wait for a man. I'm going to wait. Oh, there's one just around the corner. And then I was playing squash like the Monday after I got back. And there was a filly, this woman who was an entrepreneur herself, really quietly spoken and unassuming. And she just said to me, "Oh, I found my Prince Charming, my beautiful husband at 40. And it's the biggest regret of my life because we're happily married, but it was too late for me to have children. And I just feel like I really missed out." And something just went click in that moment. And I went to the IVF clinic the next day to investigate getting an anonymous sperm donor to have children.
Wow. So somehow the Incas are to blame for this, but
Yeah.
you ultimately considered dating. I assume it's not really no one would marry you, but I assume you had some standards. You just couldn't find someone. I can't see you being desperate. You're a beautiful woman, and I assume men were not living up to the bar. Even, and this is coming from someone who you had learned in the 14s. You're like, hey, men, yet slow and dumb behind the wheel, still can serve a purpose. But so you were probably our only champion, yet you couldn't find anything suitable. So walk us through, like, what were your standards? What were you looking for in a man that you weren't able to find?
Okay.
And have they changed?
Yeah, that's really great question. I think
appreciate it. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're done there.
No. But I think the answer is I spent too many years drinking too much. And so in those years, and so I was a bitch, like I'd say nasty things. And so when I was about, 35 or whatever, I just, the build up of like, this is affecting my relationships. So I wasn't like drinking every day, but I was a binge drinker. And which you do when you, in 20, but I just continued. That's another topic for another day, because I reckon about 1 in 10 people have this problem. But anyway, I just know off switch. And so I just learned I had to stop, just had to stop. And so then I think what happened is my time frame was too small. By the time I stopped at 35, I didn't have like 10 years to go exploring and dating and whatever. So I think that was a factor. And I don't know. I'd go out with guys for 3 months or whatever, and there was the banker, the ceramic artist, the carpenter. And they were really nice guys. And to me, it's not about education level. It's about having my back. It's about.
Wait, is that camouflage for size? There's nothing like that.
But you know what I mean? Like, people get caught up on, I don't know. I just wanted someone to feel supported and have my back and really want me. And I don't think I didn't get that person. So yeah, that was the decision. So it was a two-way thing. Maybe they didn't
is that
meet up
because
to my standards, and I didn't meet up to theirs.
Yeah, is that maybe because in the past, I think like with my parents, they probably just always assumed that they would need someone else to do life with. And then for our generation and even my kids now, we don't need anyone. We've got even you don't need a best friend now. I've got AI, right? There was a lot of things that I would have seen, or in my previous life, I would have needed a partner for. But these days, I get all the benefits of living my own life, and I don't really miss any of the things that I would have needed in a partner before all this modern society, technology. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, to Ethan's point, there's actually been a recent influencer who said that herself. She said, in 2025, marriage and kids is a prison sentence. I'm going after luxury now, which is it's a whole different generation. So to tie that back to where you are, Maureen, how is from where you decide, okay, I can't find the right guy. It sounds like you're very nice to men. You make excuses for men. I appreciate that for all of us.
Yeah,
out
it's
there
because of
failing.
how we were schooled, obviously. So.
Yes, exactly. Men, that's the thing. Women
we haven't been allowed to be men.
And saying what they don't want and what they do wrong. What about just, I don't know, building them up a bit? Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I was too nice.
Now, how has it changed for what you're looking for now?
So Once I had the children, so I had my first was due on my 40th birthday, and then I had the second at 42. So, and then I was just blissfully exhausted for 7 years doing life with them. And so I just was off the radar totally. And then when the kids were about 5 and 7, I think, I went off to Thailand and did a 500-kilometer bike ride in 5 days for charity. It was very hot. And there were about 50 other entrepreneurs. And we got up on stage on the last night, and you had to share, your deepest, darkest secrets of why you were doing the ride and whatever. And everyone got really heavy. When you people go on stage or people share, and if the first person goes and they're really heavy, then everyone's like, well, I've got to.
I got to up
Someone
that.
confesses to murder.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, like what am I? And I'm a high achiever, so I wanted to have something good. So I was the second last person out of these 50 people. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? So I stood up on stage in front of 50 people and said that I'd come on the bike ride, sure, to support the orphans, but also and raise money. But I'd come for me because I identifying as a mother and lost the feeling of being a woman, and I hadn't had a date in 7 years, i.e. sex in 7 years. So I declare to all of you here tonight that I'm going to go home and get laid. Yeah, the crowd erupts.
Nice.
Woo, I did my job. And so some of the guys came to me after and like, oh, you need to get on Tinder. And so they showed me the ropes. So that was sort of the re-entry into dating after a while. But just something to you, else you said, Joe, what I think, or maybe it was your Ethan, I think there's a couple of things. That woman, when she wants to have babies, I reckon that influencer, she'll change her mind. So people going, oh, partnerships, marriage is dead or whatever. But you see, it's still most people don't want to do parenthood alone. And biologically, a lot of people still, especially women in their late 30s, want to have children. So what they say when they're 25 and 25-year-old influencer, and what happens when they're 35, I think will be a very different story. So that's why I think men will never become redundant. Yay, good news, guys.
In fact, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
When you decided to have children, I mean, what was your support network? Were they supportive? Was this a new thing? Did you get a look through pictures like they show in the movies when you
No.
get to pick
You
a
get to
donor?
choose hair color
walk
and eye
us
color.
through.
No. So a few things. So to answer to the supportive question, I told my mum, and by this stage she's like in her 70s, and I said, Mum, I'm going to have a baby on my own. And then she said, what about a partner? What about a husband? And I said, maybe I'll get one later. And she goes, oh, who'd want you and a little baby? So that was supportive. It was just what she was thinking.
Right. Gotcha.
And,
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mum.
That's what parents are for.
Yeah. And look, there's some traditionalists, like one sister, I think, doesn't agree with the way I had children, a high school friend, but they're still supportive of me in life. It's just that they don't really agree with it, and they would never do it that way. And so most people, and you get support from all different places in life, and people surprise you. So I think, one sister especially was really supportive. And yeah, so that's that aspect to it. What was the other part of the question?
I am wondering, like, how did you get to pick your donor? Is
The donor, that's right, yes.
what?
No, I have a lot to say about this too. So
Okay. You don't have to, but if you're willing, it is interesting.
Hopefully it's interesting. So it's not like America. Sorry, Joe. Victoria is one of the most regulated places in the world. So there is a severe shortage.
Here we have fathers with 500 children. So,
so in Australia,
we only have 3 donors, and everybody gets.
Yeah. At any given time, there's around 99 donors. That's about it in the whole of the country.
Wow.
So by law, when the child is 18, they can seek out to find out who that person is, so for some people, that's a bit uncertain. There's no money exchange. You don't do it for money. Like, it's not uni students making money. And the other fallacy is that that it's the
It's
kids.
so sad. You can
Yeah.
pay women for prostitution, but the other way around, and there's nothing.
And men who are seeking out. I know donors who do not know who the biological children are, and they are upset and
Oh, really?
feel like something's
So,
missing in their lives.
so the fathers want to know who they are, and are
Yeah,
they
but they're
allowed
not.
to reach
They're
out?
not. We don't call them fathers because they don't take a father role.
Yeah,
Donors. Yeah.
I agree. It's a weird.
Donors.
It's a weird stand.
Yeah.
Donors. That sounds right.
So yeah. But in saying that, we've met our donor. So you can go through births, deaths, and marriages, and you apply. And then you have to have counselling. The donor has counselling. I have counselling. You have to write a letter on what are your goals? Why do you want to meet them? Like, what are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? What are your, like, it's this whole thing. It's good because it makes you think it through. And
This is like arranged marriage. Maureen, did you go on any dates with these men or sit down? I mean, this is like the ultimate. You have a kid first, and then you can meet. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, the opposite is just go get pregnant by a random stranger at the club.
in a pub.
So,
Fair,
which happens, I'm sure happens a lot more than
right.
sperm
And it used to
donation.
happen all the time, right? Yeah.
And Ethan, I considered it for sure because it's much cheaper. These kids cost me a lot of money, and it's a lot of heartache. To be injected for a couple of years. It's not fun. But I wanted that structure. I wanted to be able to them to know where they come from and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, we catch up about 3 times a year now with the donor and with the dibbling, which is another child he's had through a British woman who's also a single mum. So this big
They
register.
couldn't come up with a better name. That sounds a bit funny.
Yeah.
No, sibling.
I get the sibling part, but dibbling does come off.
It's a bit mean, bit harsh. Sounds too much like a dingleberry.
You've met these donors. Was there, what did you think about these donors after the fact? And
One
did you
donor.
get a kind of, just one donor? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that does make it nice. I didn't know. So
Yeah. So he's quirky. I've got this philosophy that people.
quirky.
Yeah, so you like how I wound back to the whole philosophy. I've got a philosophy.
Yep.
My philosophy is
Anytime you have to answer what did you think of him and you have to go back to philosophy, it's not a good advice about
of the 9, I think I had 5 choices of people on the sheets, no photos, but it did say.
So there's 99, but they narrow you to 5.
No, but the clinic at any one given time they only had 5, and so
gotcha.
My friend would have chosen a different person. So a friend who came from the country chose a guy from the country. Someone else who likes exotic men chose a Frenchman. Someone who's like obsessed with tall chose tall. So it's like you choose the person that you would in real life have more connection with. So I wanted kind and intelligent.
So long as there's only 5 of them.
Yeah, and I read his profile. He wrote a message to the unborn child, and I cried.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even need to read anymore. I just knew that he was.
Oh, man. That gets him every time. Make him laugh, make him cry.
Apparently he was quite
Nice.
popular.
So
Oh, really? He's got quite a few dibblings.
Yeah, so there's a limit of 10 families.
After you met the donor, did you notice more of his characteristics in your own children after that?
Yeah, it was the first time we met him. I was running late. I had these kids with me. We're racing. We met in the Botanic Garden. And firstly, the story goes, my daughter, who was very little at the time, we race up to him and, I'm introducing myself. And she just looks at him and she says, "You've got grey hair. In your notes, it said you had brown hair." That was the first thing.
Liar.
So I'm like, oh, well, this is good. This is a good start. And then, so we had a nice day at this botanic
This
garden.
one's not him, Mum. This one's not him.
And so then
Imposter.
I said, let's take some photo. So I took a photo of my son and him sitting together. And then, oh my gosh, I looked at the photo later and the head tilt's the same. and the position of the hand, and I'm like, so yeah. So I think there are some characteristics that have my children have beautiful lips, full lips, and he's got big lips, and like there's some physical things. And then also he's really, really intelligent, and my kids are really, really intelligent. So I think that's come through too.
Nice.
I thought you were going to say you're really intelligent. He's not so much. So your kids are intelligent. So you can tell that that's come through
No,
too.
but we're both.
She's,
like,
you notice, Ethan, she's always bantering to help Min. She's propping up Min. We keep failing in life.
Well, no,
She's
I think
supporting us.
we're just not used to it,
I
Joe.
appreciate it.
We're just not used
We're
to
used to
having any positive feedback.
That's true. That's true.
But you know what?
So-
the problem is we're both intelligent in terms of language and literature and, those sorts of things. He's written history books on tanks and whatever else, and he lectures at university in, politics and whatever. So my kids are shit at maths. Between the two of us.
I see. So philosophy is covered, but how to figure out how to, add that up to something is
No, I
Something
shouldn't say that. My
is a
son's
family.
all right, but it's a good story. Now, can I just tell you one
So-
other little story? It's a bit silly.
Please.
So when I went to this seminar, it's called How to Tell. And so it's for people who've used donors. How do you tell your children that they are from a donor? And so you have a whole day on this seminar, and that's where I met lots of donors and whatever else. Anyway, so the philosophy is a bit like adoption. Sorry, I said the word again. Sorry, I'll stop saying it. That just like adoption, it's best that a child never knows that they weren't adopted. So they don't want to hear when they're 22 when Aunt Margaret is drunk at the party and then spills the beans that you're adopted, right?
Right.
So you got to tell them from when they're very little, in your everyday language. So I thought, right, I had to do this thing about the donor. So I told my daughter a lot, my beautiful donor baby, donor, you've got a donor, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, one day she's laying in bed. She just got a new little bed. She was about 2.5. And she's crying, she's weeping, and she's like, I want my donor. I want my donor. I'm like, oh, shit, what have I done to this poor child? Talked about it so much that she's going to be emotionally scarred. And then I looked over and saw her doona, which is a bed cover, on the ground. And she's actually saying, I want my doona, because the bloody doona come off.
That's typical parenting right there. I love
it's really
it.
good.
What
Yes.
we put into the child's expression and what actually is, it's not always the same. I love the story. So your kids are great. You had your support group. You raised these kids kind of and they're teenagers now. So I would almost say this is not even the halfway mark, but let's say even when they were younger, was there a point of which you're like, I do need someone to help me do this? Or did you feel the opposite? Like, actually, why do I need someone? I've got this. I'm nailed it. I've done this. You're independently wealthy. You were running businesses. You're raising 2 kids. I mean, you basically are beyond super mom. This is like superwoman at this point.
Thank you. I think one of my superpowers is getting really good people around me, and I support
Even
people
if you have to make
when
them.
they so I think the mistake people make with men is they want everything in the man. They want
Here it comes, Ethan.
They want the man to support them. They want the man to listen to them every day. They want to have adventures with them. They want to it's all in the same person. So
This is still a
what I
man we're
think
talking about, right?
Exactly.
A doona. A doona.
Doona.
I think I get more out of a doona.
Yeah, exactly. So, Joe, I didn't I realized that I could get different things from different people, and I was very lucky. I lived with a friend of mine, and we lived together for about 12 years. And actually, I had a mate living with me for several years as well. There were 3 of us, and they followed me to 3 houses. And he ended up the 2 of them were still in the house with me when I had the baby. He ended up moving when my daughter was about 15 months. He ended up getting married and whatever. He's still a really good friend. But this woman who lived with me, my good friend, was better than her husband. She was the baby whisperer. Like she would notice that baby's crying and I've had enough. She would take the baby. All she always said to me is, do not expect anything from me. I will help you when I want to help you. You can't, I'm not their mother. I'm not officially
Ethan says the same thing throughout many relationships.
Well, I say that to my kids.
Don't expect anything from me.
Nah, I'm just kidding. A little bit about me. I'm on the Elon Musk plan, and so I've only just I've experienced my life as one of these dudes that went to school here, and so I don't think I ever met my full potential, and I think I was disillusioned about what I wanted because I wanted what everyone else wanted. But now
Ethan's always looking for Mrs. Right now.
No, I'm not looking for Mrs. Right. What I've realized, if I was a woman, I would have had kids myself. I see some. I'm not saying this. A lot of single mothers. I think most single mothers don't want to be single mothers, but I also see that some women choose to be single mothers, and men just don't get to do that. There's no. I can't go get intravenous. And so, I have to.
Well,
lucky,
Ethan,
and
you could. You wouldn't have any kids, but you could.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But what I'm saying is, in order for me to be able to be a single dad, I would have to be able to convince a mother
You
to
need
let me
someone.
raise her children. There's no.
All right, you bring up a really good point because, Maureen, you're really saying instead of having one person to provide so many different resources, which one could be emotional, one could be basic resources, one could be actually physical help, you found it in multiple people to provide that, kind of help you had. And it empowered you of sorts, if I can say that. Whereas, Ethan, you're really saying that on the opposite end, men don't have it so well that they're unable to have their own children.
Well, it's just not even a choice. We don't even get to think about it. We don't even get to think about, I might want a baby by myself. Yeah, it's because it's not even, I don't think it's culturally accepted yet.
Gay guys do.
Sorry?
Gay guys do it. Gay guys do it.
Sure. I think that's where it's most common. But I get to single dad half the week right now, which I love. But I still think it's very not the norm. I still get a lot of people looking at me wondering where the mother is, where my partner is. And it's just me and my 2.5-year-old daughter.
Well, is that a societal shift? Because if we go back even 50 years to Maureen, would it even be possible for your mother to have done this then? At one point, women couldn't even have a job. And so there's jobs, there's work, there's actual resources. There was literally birth control. Women couldn't control when they were being born. So it's almost like now becoming partially a level playing field, I would see from one point of view, where Ethan's saying maybe it's not a level playing field. Maureen, as far as, you were able to do this. Isn't that kind of something that you're saying, hey, it's actually equality? Because if you were gay, then you could, or maybe not gay, you could have you could have both the in vitro and the child.
Yeah. And I think Ethan's got a point. It's possible. It's just a lot harder because you have to get, the donor, the surrogate, but
breastfeeding would be
I
challenging.
encourage men to do it if they really wanted to do it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's it's more difficult, but it's doable.
Some of the stats we have, more and more people are waiting to get married. So marriage for men now in the U.S. averages 31 from 28, which many years ago it was 18 and 16. And then you have pandemic. There's a small blip in the pandemic where there weren't so many, but now today 65% of the population ages 15 and above have been married at least once. And 40% of babies now are born out of wedlock. And so there is this shifting dynamic in society. A lot of this show that we talk about is really population decline and the changes of it. Can you give us a little bit of flavor of your career, how that has changed things, how you were able to manage being a mother?
I think you've got to think outside of the box and just do things differently. So I got support from people and I paid for support. So I had the baby and then I went online. I think I went on to one of the job sites and said, who would like some work to mind a baby for a few hours a day. Like there's just so many different. I had used asylum seekers resource centre and got a cleaner from Myanmar. And she was a refugee and she cleaned my house and I had the baby and she was obsessed with my baby and she was a beautiful ray of sunlight. I'm like, wow, here's someone who could mind my baby. And she did. So I used to put on and I loved it. She'd come in and she'd just rock the baby and be with the baby. And then I'd put on a suit and then go do some coaching, earn a couple of $100 at the time or like $350 or whatever I charged at the time. This is going back years and years ago. And then I'd come home and pull my suit off and stick the baby on my boob. Like there's so many, people aren't creative with how they do their life. We're so like cookie cutter. It has to be like this. We have to work from 9 to 5. Like I've lived in a rental property for 16 years and it's beautiful. Like it's millions of dollars that I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy, but I've been able to rent it. And so people they just think, just so stuck in their ways of what society says they have to do. And I think that's the key to it. I've been successful because I've been brave to do things a bit differently and to question the norm.
Now, I started kind of asking you this in the beginning and we didn't get an answer. So I want to push it here. Where have your expectations and what you're looking for in a man now versus what you were looking for previously? Have they changed, or are you still kind of looking for that man? You want someone to support you, you want basically a doona.
No, I don't want anyone. So what happened was I wanted it for all those years. And then I've had the children and I laugh now, I call them my flatmates, housemates. And they're the teenagers. And we're very, very close and we get along really well. There's occasional conflict or, whatever, but it's very calm.
Once a month when it's rent collection time. It's always
someone goes
a
over their phone
confrontation.
usage.
No, see, I don't have any rules like that. I'm like, I don't have a bedtime. I don't have phone rules. If you want to be successful at life, you have to work it out. I'm happy to talk to you and help you, but it's like I'm not a rule person, as you probably gathered. So there's a few things here, and this is not to be mean to men or to anybody, but why on earth would I want a man or anyone else in my life right now? Like there's no point to it.
That would slow you down for sure, yeah.
And not even that. So I have, how I said I've got different things in different people. I've had the same lover for one for 8 years and one for 5 years. That works for me. It's a little bit mechanical, maybe. It's not like romantic that much, but I get my needs met. And
yeah, but marriage can be like that, Maureen. I was married for 12 years, and marriage can be very mechanical.
It's Monday.
Yeah.
It's Monday at 7.
I'd love
when you're
to
done
hear
with the
about that.
dishes.
I really want to know. Like when you've done the dishes, yeah, then maybe I'll think about it, love. Yeah.
Now,
so-
is this a guy who lives somewhere in the city? You go and you meet up, have a date every once in a while. I mean, I assume he's not living with you, or
No. It's just sex. It's not date. So we're putting the category of romance and sex together. I haven't put that category. I don't really need any romance. I've passed menopause. I don't give a fuck.
Gotcha.
Right. Those
Right.
love hormones are gone. They've drained. So I'm not saying this. So also we get caught up on what we want. This is what I want for now. Like maybe in a few
Right.
years, I will want something more. Now, not that I was really worried about this, but I did hear recently the most dangerous person you can bring into your house is a new partner. If you look at the stats of violence,
is a man.
and wrong, yeah. And so, that's to be considered as well. I've parented these kids. We work together well as a team. Why would I bring another person into the team? It's going to mess up the equilibrium.
Right. Well, you do bring up a point. So for you, you're saying, all right, if a man moves in, Now what? Am I supposed to make him dinner? Do I have to clean up after him? Is this something? I mean, you're like, what? I have nothing. I have nothing to gain here. This is all loses. Why would I want to sign up for that? Makes, complete sense.
Joe,
Yeah.
that if Mr. Right came riding in on a horse into Maureen's life and wanted to start helping her do things, I think that would probably be what Maureen would saying. That's when things might change, right? She might want a partner if she ever found someone who wanted to do things for her and wanted to set her as a focus in their lives, right? But sometimes you like, I'm like you, Maureen. I'm not looking for anything in life right now. I know how to keep myself happy. If someone else wants to come along and try to make me happy, I'll let them do that, but I'm not going to change my life for them right now, So that could change one day, right? That could change one day. But for right now, I'm just happy looking after myself, and anyone who wants to hang around for a bit and check in, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But I don't expect anyone right now.
Yeah. And you know what? This sounds really silly. If a man came and whippersnippered my grass, I'll tell you, the back's looking really, the backyard is like for a jungle. That's not a metaphor. And so
This is
You've
a
got
PG.
just the
I think
task
this is
to
supposed to be a
test him
PG
on.
podcast, right?
so I that would turn me on, let me tell you. So like doing things for me, being kind and helping. And the thing is, but what's the solution to that? There's another solution, which is I hire someone again online to come and do my garden. So
I'm thinking I need to update my Tinder profile to, can I come and trim your garden?
yeah,
Is that correct?
yes, come and help me. Just
Can I come
help
and
me.
do the dishes?
And like
No,
I
laundry's the hard one, right?
No,
There's
I
always
don't do any of
laundry.
that. My kids do the laundry and they do the cooking,
Mm.
so like that's not my thing. But it's like I
Wow.
like adventures, and so
So I should
I've had
focus
to-
on yard work.
and putting the
The
bikes
hedges,
on
the
car,
hedges, Ethan.
putting the bikes on the car.
Power
like things
tools,
like
power tools, anything with power tools.
well, yes,
She needs a maintenance man.
yeah. But it's sort of what it symbolizes. It symbolizes helping, I think, and supporting is what I'm getting at. And
Now, do you
the second way too is you just like we get caught up on what we should have, but it's what do I want right now? And then the same, Ethan, next week you might decide you want something different to what you want right now. And I think that's okay too.
that keeps you lots of options, lots of flexibility? You're obviously coming across men, I mean, in your daily activities and in your work. But do you actively, I mean, you definitely have made a decision that you're like, hey, I want to be single. I've got all my needs taken care of. But do you actively still look around? And if you do, the question is data shows that women, the longer they stay single, they tend to be more liberal. And men, the longer they stay single, tend to be more conservative. Do you fall into that category at all? And if so, when you come across men,
what do you mean by liberal and conservative?
oh, I'm so glad you said that because I forget. For clarity for everyone, in Australia, the Liberal Party is conservative. Conservative Party is liberal. It's so confusing.
Well, there's a lot of semantics around those words these days anyway, right? Like,
it's true. Let's say women tend to be more socialist as they're getting older and staying single, and men tend to love guns and dislike the government the longer they stay single. Would you find that those type of traits fall into men you come across and yourself?
I have nothing to say on that.
Nice.
so
I don't know.
think,
Like, I don't even know.
I don't think
You're gone.
I don't think those definitions make sense anymore, Joe. Because conservatives, like even in America, the conservative right now, they're anti-government. They're anti-establishment,
Right.
pretty much. And the Democrats, the liberals, are the ones who love government. Love it.
Well, that's
Love
what I
it to
mean.
death.
So in the U.S., single women tend to be more Democratic, and
Mhm.
single men tend to be more Republican.
Okay.
And
Oh, if you say
so
Democrats and
that's
Republicans, I get it.
that. Maybe I should have done it in U.S. politics. Maybe that
Yeah.
would have made.
I'm saying that
Yeah.
the way that those parties are termed liberal and conservative, that doesn't make sense anymore. That's what I'm saying. Maybe once upon a time Democrats were a liberal party, and maybe once upon a time Republicans were conservative, but that's not the case anymore. So that's why it's a bit confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, the words are definitely, because you can go to like Scotland and the word liberal means to liberate. It's like a libertarian. It doesn't mean that in the U.S., but the words haven't changed here. So yeah, that would definitely give it more clarity. But as you come across men themselves, are there general traits that you've now found you no longer have a tolerance for, and just are like, nope, that I'm now old enough that that's just nothing I'm gonna have anything to do with. Where maybe when you were younger, like I could stomach that if they were loving and basically I could wrap around like a doona.
like that, like what you did there. I think you just learn and grow and become stronger and less needy as you get older, especially as a woman. And so, yeah, for sure, things that you needed and you wanted change. So, um, I think men are after one thing in life. You know, they say, oh, men only want one thing. They actually want a partner. There's very few older men who want to be alone, whereas I think it's a bit different for women. So I think that's an interesting dynamic that's happening. There's a big increase in divorce rates in the early 50s when women go through menopause, because all the things they put up with before, you really do. You lose your kindness, love hormones, and you're like, fuck that. Like, I'm not sticking around. So
And you're about
I
to be a
find,
parent again.
pardon?
You're about to be a parent again to a debilitating old man. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to start
Yeah.
changing nappies again. You're not in your prime.
Men only decline. So
Yeah.
their prime is
You
their
know, really
20s.
good if you want to have adventures with men in older age. You know, like a lot of the grey nomads drive their caravans around Australia. It makes them really happy, those couples. Because, you know, again, I'm going back to my sister does it. And he only drives a caravan because she's a bit fearful. She's in a, 75 or whatever. And he has handles all that stuff. And yeah, they have a lovely time traveling around Australia in
She
the
does the
caravans.
itinerary. She does the itinerary and make sure they get to the right bakeries. That sounds perfect.
All the
So,
dishes
yeah,
are in a Tupperware wrapped.
yes. And so I think the key is to finding the life that's going to work for both of you when you get older, you know?
Mm.
And
Yes.
planning for them, go and get your caravan and fuck off around Australia. Catherine, their idea of a fun time was to buy a really cheap car, get it going. So $100 for a car, get it going back in the day, and now to go bush bashing with this car with the helmet on, and they drive through the bush, like running into trees and
This
shit, right? And
this is
going
what
and
Ethan
going
and
and
I
going
did.
until it
Yeah,
stops.
Joe, what are we
And then
doing,
put
Catherine?
petrol on it and have your big bonfire. That was a
That's
fun
all
time.
we did. Except for we took our car and we could fit close to 50 Aboriginal kids inside and on top of. And
Have you
then
seen
we'd go bushman.
do you remember going
I'd
to
be
the
holding on
circus?
top and Ethan be driving and we have Aboriginal kids all over us. And
Do
then
you
we do a
remember going to the
bonfire and
circus
eat kangaroo.
and you see all the clowns get out of the car? Well, that's us with Aboriginal
That's
kids getting out of our car in the middle of the bush.
No,
the
no,
trunk,
another
the
one.
trunk, the hood. Well, I wanna pivot if we can. Your TikTok is very active, and lots of views. I've watched a few of them, and very informative. You've really been an advocate for men. It sounds like since the time you were teaching them at 14. Where did you get the sense that you really needed to help men? You express in your book that men were sick of getting ghosted. They're sick of getting turned down. You come across a lot of men, but then you hear the complaints of men saying, like, how did you find that there was that need, which seems by the data seems to be a growing need, and clearly you're filling that void. There's your videos get millions of watches. Where and how did you stumble upon that?
So when I started the Tinder, take you back to the bike ride, and the boys said get on Tinder, and he actually, I
And to
said,
clarify your Tinder account, it is how to get laid on Tinder. Or your TikTok. Your TikTok account is how to
yeah,
get laid on Tinder.
yeah. And so I just said, I just want to get laid. And they said, well, I don't, you'll be all right. Just go home and put a photo on and a few words and whatever. And then they said, in our group chat, Maureen, all you have to do is when you've got the job done, just put a tick. So we all know. So anyway, so I did that. And then through the exploration of starting to date and my own online dating, I came across guys who I became sort of friends with, or they'd just be really frustrated, and then I'd give them tips, and they'd be really grateful, because I find guys are really practical. And if you say, "Why don't you try this?" then they go and try it. Like, who knew? And then it'll work, and they go, "Wow, that's really good." So I'm like, there's something here. Oh, and there's also guys who are doing it really well, like superstars who just smooth as get them off. Say the right thing, get you off the app, and get you on a date or into bed or
They're
wherever
the ones with a picture of a fish. They usually have a big
No.
picture of a fish, right? Next to in their profile.
No. And so I would just go, like, how did you do that? And then the guy'd tell me. I said, you've obviously done this before, or tell me what works. He goes, well, I've decided this is my formula. And he told me. And I'm like, can I use that? He goes, yeah, sure. So then I'm like, I want to spread this guy's formula. And this is not to be deceitful or anything to women. It's just an effective way of getting to meet women, which is what ultimately they want to do. So I found that, and then I just started, and because I had a writing background.
So you took a secret men's book and you stole it, and now, but to give back, you're giving it back to men. So this is fair.
Yeah, and that's one little thing. Then there's I think it might have even been the same guy. We partook in sexting, right? After the thing. And it was brilliant. I'm like, oh my God, because I'm a wordy wizard. I'm just like, this is impressive. And so
This guy has endurance. He can even continue on with sexting.
Yeah, and so I put it. Yeah, I know. Who knew? And I put it in the book. And then I'm going, this is why it works, because he actually complimented me within it. Like, and, and so guys can just take from it what they want. But and my teaching background came in too, because I'm like, well, how do I make this really simple? So really quite structured.
In theory, not the practical, the theory.
Men don't mature past 14s.
No, they're very practical. And also I say things in it, like I think guys need to hear. You're not 16 back in school being picked last for the baseball team or the footy team or the whatever in sport. On the app, you're a lone wolf. You can't see your competition. It's actually huge opportunities for you. You know what I mean? Like, we've all got hang-ups. I've got a hang-up from being 16, or 17 in a pizza place, and the boys were with our school groups, and there was a girls' school and the boys' school, and the boys walked in, and as we walked past to go to the toilet, they rated us out of 10, right? These boys. I still had hang-ups about what I was rated when I was freaking 16. Like, let alone what hang-up boys have around rejection or, all that stuff comes through. So a lot of it, I'm just reminding them that you're not who you were when you're 16. Things can change. You can change. You can make it better by making small tweaks. With your first message, do not say, hello, sexy. Do not say, hey, guys, it's a better one. Like,
cat calls don't work.
Worry that. You know how many sexy she's got that day? Come on.
That's how I remember all their names, though. How else am I going to remember their names if I don't call them all the same names?
The red dress one, the stilettos.
And so many conversations going on that, you can't remember their names.
No. I call myself sexy. I call myself sexy.
Hey, you, and he signs it sexy.
Hello, this is sexy.
That's good.
So do a lot of men reach out to you to follow up on advice? Or I found in your in your Tinder or Tinder and
Tinder,
TikTok.
yeah.
In your TikTok, you have a lot of women who are reaching out as well, which I found fascinating. That women themselves are learning something about how you're teaching men who are learning about themselves. This sounds like a ongoing philosophy.
Women have to be in on everything, don't you know? So we did a podcast, and then I'd go away to my business meetings and stuff, and there's these women come up to me. There's a group of women, you know. One said, "I was listening to the podcast with my husband as we're driving around Europe." So there's a lot of, and then another lesbian couple was sharing. Then I was out at a conference one night. It was a party. We'd had the conference during the day, sorry, and then this married couple was standing there, and he comes up to me, "Had a few beers," and he goes, and his wife's standing there. He's going, "Maureen, she doesn't give me blowjobs anymore." And then the wife, and then they have to start having this discussion about it. They're a really good couple. They love each other a lot. And he's like, "I'm going to buy Maureen's book." She goes, "You do that," whatever. And he's there drunk, buying my book. So I think even sparking discussions is good, isn't it? You know, between couples and whatever else. So, yeah, most sales are from the States as well of the book. So I found that interesting.
The demand is just as much here. So I did follow you on TikTok, and a lot of them are Americans in the same right reaching out. So I could see a lot of it. Have you found, since the book has come out, it's been 3 years, have you found that there's some updates that you would add to the book as you've had so much outreach? I imagine when you wrote the book, it's clearly written for men. And so you're talking to men, giving examples and helping guide men, teaching them basically using a lot of your stuff. And now you've learned that there's a lot of women who want to come in and either learn from it or even recommend. What would be the final chapter now if you were adding on to it?
I already have. So I did an update about 6 months ago. But
I didn't know.
But the thing is, I'm not focused on helping women. I think by helping men, I'm helping women.
Right.
Women don't need help.
And I think they do.
I'm just teasing.
I get Ethan's. They will never apologize, Ethan. She's not going to apologize. Get over it, Ethan.
Women don't shart.
Yeah,
Women don't shart.
There's a lot of people helping women and women helping women and men helping women, and I just wanted to turn it on its side and be from a woman's perspective. And then someone on my TikTok recently, I think he had a good point. He was having a go at me, but he said, "You're supporting men, but then you're making excuses for women. You're being a bit soft as well," was sort of the message. And I think I am not a dogmatic person. I am a person with an opinion based on my life experience and my research. And so I am not the 3 steps to do this is the magic answer, everybody. And when you do this, your life will change and your dick will grow 10 inches. Like, no. So I'm not the magical answer person. I'm the thought provoker.
There's always an exception.
I just want you to...
There's always an exception.
Yeah. And exactly. And I don't want you to follow my, there's not a 10-step rule to anything, process. So, but there are better ways than others. And you find your way. And so that's what I'm really about. So I think I would just keep adding more of what I've learned in the book. And I'm also, I just find it's going to be an interesting chapter moving forward for men, like finding their groove and their place in society.
Very interesting. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation. I hope everyone, if you'll give us a little wrap up, Maureen, about the book, where they can find it, I think I've already told them where they can find you on TikTok.
Yes.
The book is How to Get Laid on Tinder.
Everything is How to Get Laid on Tinder, on TikTok, and How to Get Laid on Tinder.com as well, if you want to get hold of our podcast or buy the book. And I just want to finish by saying it is a little bit provocative, the title, but it's more about just getting laid. So, but I thought if I wrote a book called
But
How
I
to
will
Connect
get laid
Better,
if I buy the
it
book,
wouldn't go
right?
down, it wouldn't sell so well.
Maureen, I
Yep.
will get laid if I buy the book, right?
Oh, money
Yeah,
back
there's like a
guarantee.
guarantee on the inside.
Yes. Thank you.
I seriously though, if you follow what's in it and you can't, like something's wrong.
You
I think it's therapy next, not me.
welcome to. That's right. Ethan
Challenge-
is.
challenge
That speaks.
accepted.
I think we have a psychiatrist.
Yeah, maybe that's the next guest.
That is exactly it. You heard it here, folks, in the conversation where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping our world, including the population's decline and all the reasons for it. So glad that you have joined us today, Maureen Pound. It's been a fascinating conversation, and look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks. I loved it.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks a lot.